Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today we'll be diving into a topic that's essential for first-time buyers and also buyers who are looking to expand their investment portfolio. So we'll be going through costly mistakes you should avoid when purchasing a property. So from understanding how entry price actually affects your resale value in future to the transaction volume in a development, we will be explaining 3 mistakes with 3 case studies in this video. Okay, so now we will talk about the first case study, High Park Residences and River Trees Residences. They are actually in the same district and also in the same area. So let's just take a look on 17 July 2015, what actually happened. So there were 2 buyers respectively. The first one bought in High Park Residences on the second floor, 1367 square feet, a 4-bedroom at a purchase price of 858 PSF, equivalent to a purchase price of 1.173 million. On the other hand, the other buyer actually bought in River Tree Residences on the 13th floor, 1356 square feet, also similar sizing, maybe just a difference of 10 square feet, at a purchase price of 1030 PSF, equivalent to a purchase price of 1.396 million, close to 1.4 million. Now let's just take a look at the profits both buyers have actually made. So on 24th of May 2021, the River Trees buyer actually sold its unit for a profit of 253,000 and he actually held the unit for 2,138 days. That's probably equivalent to around 5.8 years, so close to 6 years, okay? He sold the unit after 6 years and he made a profit of 253,000. On the other hand, the High Park buyer sold its property in 2023. 2 years later, a second floor unit, he sold it for a profit of 707k. But definitely, the holding period is slightly longer, it's 2 years longer. But the difference in profit is probably close to a 4 to 500,000. So that's why it's very important for buyers to take note of the available options in the market, because on the same day and also in the same area, you might be able to get a unit that is 200k cheaper, because in this case, the River Trees buyer actually bought in 200k more expensive. So let's say the River Trees buyer actually bought in the same price as the High Park buyer, at maybe 1.173 million instead of 1.396 million. Probably the profit that he's getting will not be 253,000. It will be maybe around 400,000 if we include the premium that he paid for, which is 223,000 in its purchase price. The timing of the sale of your property is also extremely important, because let's say if the River Trees buyer actually sold the property in 2023, which is the peak period for property prices, instead of 2021, probably the owner will be able to see more profits from his sale. Okay, so now we'll be talking about our second case study, Resi 32, a boutique development. I'm not sure if any of you heard of this development because it's actually quite a small project. It's a boutique project. It only has 65 units located along Lorong 32 Geylang, and Geylang is actually an area where a lot of people enter because of its attractive quantum. Launched in 2013 and it TOP'd in 2017. So usually, right, this kind of boutique developments, they appeal to a lot of buyers because of its unique charm and also because of its low quantum. But usually if you enter into this kind of project, I would say it comes with certain challenges also, because it has low transaction volume in the project. So if you actually look at the transaction volume in this development, since it's TOP in 2017, right, you'll notice that there are actually no transactions from 2017 to 2020. And from 2020 to 2024, there are only 4 transactions made in this project itself. So let's say imagine you are an owner of a 1-bedroom unit in this project. You see that the transaction volume is so low. So what price should you expect to sell today? Okay, so let's take a look at an actual case. This owner bought a unit in this project, 05-10, purchased it for 735,000 in 2014. Okay, quite an attractive quantum. But eventually, he sold it in 2024 after holding for a period of 10 years. Eventually, he made a loss of 45,000. Okay, not too bad because you hold for 10 years, you still sell it for maybe a loss of 45,000. It's not maybe 100 or 200,000. It's still quite a relatively small loss. But if you actually take things into another perspective, right? 10 years you're holding a property, maybe if you purchase a better condominium development with better returns, you might be able to flip maybe 1 or 2 times within this 10 years time frame. And you might not even lose 45,000. You might be even earning more than 45,000. So although the quantum is attractive in the Geylang area, I would say that the low transaction volume is preventing your prices from going up because it doesn't drive the prices up. And the demand is also relatively low. It doesn't support the supply there. So hence, if you were to enter into a boutique development today with maybe less than 150 units, less than 100 units, you have to be very careful because in future when you sell, your resale value might be potentially affected by the transaction volume. Okay, so now let's take a look at the third case study, which is the Gopeng or Angkor area. This particular area actually features 3 major developments, namely Icon at Tanjong Pagar, Altes, and also Sky Suites at Anson. Okay, so while they are not boutique developments and they are also located in our Singapore's core central region, these developments are actually heavily reliant on foreigners' demand. So if you are a buyer today looking to enter into the core central region, you have to be careful because you don't just have to look at the transaction volume, whether the transaction volume is high or low. You also have to take a look at the prices these sellers have achieved in the past few years. Okay, let's take a look at the transactions in these 3 developments. Okay, let's take a look at Altes. Altes has a total of 24 unprofitable transactions from 2017 all the way to 2024. So the lowest loss that we see here is probably around 80,000. Okay, not too bad. But the greatest loss that one of the owners made was actually 1.2 million. Okay, so he actually made a loss of 1.2 million, which is a huge amount because 1.2 million, you can easily put a down payment for another property or even pay maybe half or maybe close to the full purchase price of another condominium unit. Okay, Icon at Tanjong Pagar, 43 unprofitable transactions, much more than Altes, but the loss we see here is not as much as the other owners in Altes because the losses here, the highest loss is actually probably around 247,000 and some of the owners actually break even. They didn't make any money after holding for maybe close to 4 to 5 years. Okay, and Sky Suites at Anson, also similar situation, 31 unprofitable transactions in the past few years from 2022 to 2024. The owners also experienced losses of highest will be 259,000 and lowest will be $900. Okay. Yeah, so if you are a buyer looking to enter into this area, right, given the significant number of unprofitable transactions ranging from 20 to 40, I would say the chances of profitability is greatly reduced unless you are really able to get a very, very undervalued unit in this development. Then I would say there are definitely risks to your sale in future. In conclusion, I would say there are several key factors to take note when purchasing a property, but today I will just touch on 4 points that is shown in the previous case studies. Okay, so the first point I'll be touching on will be entry price. It's crucial to take note of the entry price you are getting into a development today because just like our River Tree and High Park case study, on the same day and in the same area, you can actually find undervalued options that can easily save you around 100 to 200,000 or even more. Okay, however, in today's market where a lot of developments actually share the same or similar price range in the area, I would say looking at just surrounding developments and also the pricing within the development itself is not sufficient. There are also other key factors such as unit type, unit layout, developers' pricing strategy in the development to be considered. But definitely, these are just some of the pointers that I'm touching on. There are also tons of other factors to consider. Okay, the second point we'll be touching on is actually transaction volume. The transaction volume actually affects the growth of a development. So if you experience a development with low transaction volume, you have to be careful because it will usually hinder price appreciation or even your resale value when you decide to sell in future because there are insufficient transactions to actually support your unit's pricing. And demand is also not there to support your resale value next time. Our third and fourth point will be exit strategy and timing. Apart from an attractive entry price that you are entering into a development, exiting is also extremely important because today, if you were to buy a very cheap unit, a very low quantum unit, but if you're unable to sell in future, then I think it beats the purpose. So you have to take note that the property you are considering is located in an area that attracts both local and also foreigner buyers so that there's demand, and you should opt for locations with strong resale potential to ensure easier and also faster sale when you decide to sell next time. Okay, timing of the sale of your property is also extremely important because look at the River Tree and High Park example again. The High Park buyer actually sold 2 years later in 2023 instead of the River Tree buyers in 2021. Eventually, he made significantly more profit. So you have to time the sale of your property very well. So of course, there are also other key factors that you should consider when purchasing a property. So if you are interested, you feel free to contact me on my socials and I'll be able to advise you more on the purchase of your property.